Good afternoon. Welcome to the Ship of Mysteries, hosted by thevision.radio.net. This is Ivan Saron. Today, we invite all of our listeners to reflect together on a wonderful topic. And we say that it is wonderful because to speak of the GIOCONDA is to speak of the Mother. This painting is also known as the Mona Lisa. We say that this painting is sublime because when we look at it, it awakens emotions in the heart. We get to feel something glorious. The painting gives us the feeling of being in front of an angel. Throughout the program, we will reflect on this aspect. When we talk about the Mona Lisa, we are talking about love. It is necessary to emphasize that love is beyond good and evil. This is why it is quite difficult to understand the love of a mother. It is difficult to understand how love is manifested in nature. It is also difficult to understand how a mother is manifested in the heart. How can a mother be manifested in a being like Leonardo da Vinci? In our last program, we talked about all the powers and virtues that Leonardo da Vinci had. He had a creative imagination which allowed him to perceive the future. That same kind of imagination allowed him to foresee artifacts of our era, which he laid out into projects. However, his thinking was too far ahead of his time. The people of his time did not believe him. Listeners who joined us last week might remember that during our previous program, we introduced Leonardo da Vinci, the great genius of the Renaissance, as well as his painting, The Last Supper. This week, we will continue discussing Leonardo da Vinci and the profound impact he made in the areas of art, philosophy, science, and religion. Leonardo da Vinci was a true genius. We wonder, where did all this wisdom come from? His paintings radiate wisdom. We touched on this when we were reflecting on his painting of The Last Supper. We realized that this man was beyond normal. This conclusion invited us to reflect deeply and ask ourselves, if Leonardo da Vinci succeeded, why can't we as well? So I think, by going into an analysis of the Mona Lisa painting, we will discover the secret of Leonardo da Vinci. What's more, I think that today's topic, instead of being called the Mona Lisa or rending the Mona Lisa's veil, we could well say that this topic should be called The Secret of Leonardo da Vinci. So we ask, what is his secret? When we see the works of Leonardo da Vinci, we see that in each of them there is a manifestation of infinite love. Da Vinci unquestionably embodies love in his architecture, engineering, and science works. His powers of observation were so profound that he saw beyond the ordinary. He reflected that same love in the area of health because Leonardo da Vinci was also a doctor. So, why do we title this program Rending the Veil of the Gioconda? Because in the Gioconda, there are wonderful mysteries that are worth sitting down to reflect on. My wife and I had the opportunity to visit the Prado Museum in Madrid, Spain. Together, we had the privilege of admiring a copy of the Mona Lisa. It is said that this copy in the Prado Museum was painted by Leonardo da Vinci's best student, while da Vinci was painting his Mona Lisa. His student remained close to him, trying to capture the inspiration and love that Leonardo da Vinci emanated. I'd like to encourage all of our listeners to get a copy of this marvelous painting, because it is worth having a copy of it at home. However, I can assure you all, standing in front of this wonderful, enigmatic, and mysterious painting of the Mona Lisa, you can feel the love that this painting irradiates. And what is love? Love is a wonderful force that produces so many wonders in human beings. If love were to multiply in the heart and in the lives of each one of us, coronavirus would end. Wars would end. When we were in front of the Mona Lisa, the copy of the Mona Lisa, we saw the Mona Lisa as if she were a living being, a breathing being. I stared at her, then I moved to one side, and it seemed like the Mona Lisa followed me. The Mona Lisa was still looking at me. I moved to the other side, and the same thing happened. The painting followed me, and at times I felt as if she was truly smiling at me. And what an enigmatic smile is portrayed. It is a beautiful smile, calling us to happiness, but to a calm happiness, a serene happiness. La Gioconda is a wonderful painting that invites us to sit in front of its majesty and meditate deeply, and go even further, because meditating is learning to unite with the objective of our meditation. If one has the opportunity to be in front of the Mona Lisa, it is worth making the effort to connect with the love that is perceived dwelling within the heart of the Mona Lisa. Each of us has our own particular Mona Lisa. That is what Leonardo da Vinci tries to transmit to us through his painting. He is talking about a divine mother, his very own divine mother. Just as there is a divine father, there is also a divine mother. Leonardo da Vinci invites us to get inside the heart of the mother, and from there, go into a profound meditation. If we can be in front of the Mona Lisa, let us try to connect with her, to merge with her love, to try to attain the art, the science, the mysticism, and the religion residing there. Let us try to join with all the virtues deposited in the Mona Lisa. Virtues are truly precious pearls that are worth keeping in our hearts. Last weekend, we went over a brief background of Leonardo da Vinci. He was born on April 15th, 1452, in Vinci, a town near Florence, Italy. He is the author of this extraordinary transcendental work of art entitled The Mona Lisa. He was also the son of a wealthy Florentine notary and a peasant. Around the years 1455 and 1460, the Da Vinci family settled in Florence, where Leonardo received the most exquisite education in the city. He participated in the intellectual artistic center of Italy. Leonardo da Vinci died on May 2nd, 1519, in Clos, France. Leonardo da Vinci was a genius. He studied in various fields, from human anatomy to physics, mathematics, engineering, geology, cosmology, as well as the arts in general. He designed many devices, such as submarines, airplanes, and many more. He is indisputably considered to be one of the greatest artists of the Renaissance. Through his masterpiece La Gioconda, this great man tries to connect us with the Mother, with the Divine Mother which we have lost. It is important to call our Divine Mother into our lives because whoever is able to reconnect with his Divine Mother, to perceive the emanated love, that person is able to eliminate all suffering from their lives. If you recall from our discussion of last week, during our discussion of Leonardo da Vinci's other work, The Last Supper, we highlighted how Da Vinci was able to portray gestures as if taken from a photo. It seems as if each painting is able to convey a spontaneous reaction. We can see how he could capture the martyrdom of Jesus in The Last Supper. Da Vinci depicts this scenario in minute detail, and you can clearly see that every psychological aspect of what is happening. He visualizes all of that amazingly. According to different scholars, they say that this painting is practically perfect. Obviously, this painting inspires us to continue studying the work of Leonardo da Vinci, so we can not only observe exquisite architecture, but also find displays of science, religion, and philosophy. We have mentioned that there are two types of imagination: mechanical imagination and conscious imagination. Mechanical imagination is useless. It is the same as fantasy, and fantasy is made up of the waste of memory. It is obvious to say that Leonardo da Vinci had conscious imagination, an active imagination, intentional imagination. This kind of well-developed imagination is great. It's divine. We need to make use of our imagination, but a conscious imagination. We have to be very attentive to the mechanical imagination. That mechanical imagination is useless. It is fantasy, And when we enter fantasy, we enter into a lie. Could it be possible that this has happened to human beings? Have we plunged into a mechanical imagination? Are we trapped by fantasies? That it is why it's important to make ourselves aware that they are fantasies made up with the waste of our memories. Returning to the subject of imagination, it is necessary to be aware of how mechanical imagination works, since mechanical imagination leads us to live in a fantasy, and fantasies are lies. When we live in lies, then we live in ignorance, and ignorance drags us to live with a lot of suffering. Could it be possible that humankind nowadays have forgotten to search for wisdom? Because when we talk about connecting with La GIOCONDA, we are on the path to attain and appreciate wisdom. So it is necessary to become aware, very aware, that mechanical imagination does not allow us to connect with true wisdom. That is why we must be very attentive to how we use our mind, how our mind works. It happens sometimes that we let our minds fly away, and hook onto a great fantasy. We continue here in the Spaceship of Mysteries topic of the day, rending the veil of the Mona Lisa, a sublime painting that moves us to feel something special in our hearts. So the call in this painting is for us to reflect together, to become fully aware that mechanical imagination that could take us to suffering. Indubitably, when we enter into a lie, into a fantasy, in the end, we end up suffering. We subject our hearts to deep sufferings by being involved with unreal things. Now, we get to understand what conscious imagination, active imagination, or intentional imagination is. This kind of imagination, developed and well-directed, is a wonderful thing. Let us set ourselves the objective of entering into the teaching of how to multiply our conscious imagination. How can we achieve it? There are many techniques. Not only the ones that we can list, but there are different studies, different groups, people, different prophets, different teachers. We will not be able to address them all. What happens is that the heart begins to clean the mind and begins to clean the weeds that are inside of the heart. All of this helps one begin to see virtues that one has never imagined. In other words, when we talk about a conscious imagination, it is implied that it is necessary to clean the heart. And clean it from what? Of negative emotions. We will always have negative emotions if we allow ourselves to be bound up by those negative emotions, from those negative thoughts. It is undeniable that when we are going to cause such great distress in our lives, we are going to be willing to hide from the world. So it is important that we develop this creative imagination. We all have the seeds of it. The problem is, at times we get distracted, and the problem becomes more serious when these moments multiply, causing a lot of distraction. As a consequence of the multiplication of distraction, we forget how beautiful love is. When we forget about matter, we forget about the Divine Mother, also called Ramio or Isis among the Egyptian culture. The Aztecs called her Tonantzin. As we can see, all religions have a Divine Mother. A true religion must have a Divine Mother who represents divine love. Similarly, every family should adore their mother because that mother was the one who gave them life. The mother is worthy of all adoration. Each of us has a Divine Mother who is represented by the earthly mother. On the physical plane, we have a mother, our mother here on earth, which each one of us should love very much. The earthly mother is simply a very small synthesis of the Divine Mother that we all have in the superior world. That was what Leonardo da Vinci painted. It is also why La Gioconda is pure magic. We can feel it when we stand in front of the masterpiece. One feels as if one is before an angel, a living being. It is so marvelous to have this experience. When we talk about this type of imagination, we need to develop it, because this type of imagination was what allowed Leonardo da Vinci to capture the Mona Lisa on canvas. We're going to pause here for a moment to comment on the belief of some people. Much has been said about who was the woman who modeled for the Mona Lisa. Perhaps too many have said that she was his girlfriend. Well, I am afraid they will be disappointed to find out she was not. Whoever thought of it was wrong. Leonardo da Vinci did capture an amazing beauty, but it is the beauty of his divine mother. I invite all of our listeners who are able to open their search engine to pull up an image of the Mona Lisa. I ask you, look at it carefully, observe all of the details, and let us reflect together on this. Observe that the painting of La Gioconda, it does not reflect any trace of courtship. It's a glorious painting, though. When you look at the painting, a feeling of ecstasy is perceived. This is an ecstasy that makes you forget about problems, difficulties, everything. When we look at this painting, it is an open invitation to seize what the heavens are about. It brings us to the sense that there are no problems unless we engender them. Surely, we can feel the difference between feelings brought on by observing the Mona Lisa, which is ecstasy and joy, to the feelings of lower emotions brought into our heart. While the former is sublime angelical emotion, the latter is an emotion of distress. We can all agree that in the Mona Lisa there is nothing of voluptuousness, eroticism, or coquetry. What we are talking about is a divine figure. The most wonderful thing about all of this is that this divine figure dwells within us. She, the Mona Lisa, is our mother. She is purity. And what is purity? Purity is a force that purifies everything. Despite the many mistakes we make, she always forgives us. It doesn't matter how evil we are. That mother, the little mother, the Mona Lisa, that Romeo, that Mary, whatever the name we have, however we know her, she forgives the sons who have sinned so much. Our Divine Mother has many different names. Each civilization, each culture has a particular Divine Mother. It is a misfortune that human beings have become deeply sinful. But the most terrible thing is that we don't understand the state which we are in. We do not understand that we are constantly sinning, that we're constantly making mistakes. As impossible as it might seem, we have reached the point in these times, we have trampled on our physical mother. And when we do this, we also trample on the mother that we have in the superior worlds. But since she has infinite love, she will forgive us for doing this. For that reason, in the Mona Lisa, we find true love. That is why it was thought that Leonardo da Vinci had painted his girlfriend. But it is not like that. Da Vinci did something deeper. He captured something more sublime. Thanks to his great intuition, Leonardo da Vinci was able to portray a true beauty. What Leonardo da Vinci rendered on canvas was a translucent image of the Mona Lisa. He depicted the inner image of the Mona Lisa, which was the image of his own Divine Mother. And dear listeners, that is what he painted on canvas. Today in the Spaceship of Mysteries, we have been talking about the wonderful sublime painting, Rending the Veil of the Gioconda. We have said that Leonardo da Vinci, in this painting, takes us to a world full of ecstasy. This is a painting that emanates a quiet, fulfilled happiness that motivates the heart to learn to fly. Everyone who connects with that painting connects with the divine, and whoever connects with the divine purifies the heart. Whoever purifies the heart becomes a great blessing, not only to the family, but for everyone around. That it is why it's worth making the great effort to get rid of all kinds of impurity residing within us. What is the problem? Impurity. In these times, we find ourselves in very difficult situations due to the impurities that surround us. Unfortunately, so many are pleased living with impurities. Nowadays, people assume those impurities are part of our lives. The key to fighting impurity is to tightly engage in everything that relates to virtues. You have to rescue those virtues, though on many occasions it is a difficult quest to achieve. We are aware that many obstacles may arise, but we must learn to overcome all of those obstacles. We need to realize that we need divine help. The good thing is, we have a great ally. In India, there is Ganesh. Ganesh is called the destroyer of obstacles. Another name is Mary, La GIOCONDA, and so many other names given to the Divine Mother. We must learn to connect with this destroyer of obstacles to help us overcome all of those impurities that surround us. It is not easy to achieve purity, but we have to realize that even though we want to do everything on our own, there is help available. We are not alone. Humankind is not alone. Problem is, we have forgotten about divine help, that purity. We have forgotten all that is related to beauty. When a woman wants to wear makeup to look very pretty, beautiful, in reality, even without acknowledging what she is seeking, is inner beauty. Even without acknowledging for beauty, for loveliness. Because there is something deeper than the physical part. That is what is the hidden innermost. What Leonardo da Vinci portrayed was the innermost view of his Divine Mother, and he depicted it as seen in the painting. This does not mean that everything that is beautiful on the outside is actually beautiful on the inside. We have to learn to connect with purity, because that purity can save us. We must be very attentive, because when we have decided to work towards purity, then we are challenged, and impurity is presented to us to overcome it. Then, when we are in the midst of a struggle, it is when we must rely on the role that our Divine Mother plays in our lives. It is the moment to call for the special help that is needed so badly. That help, given by our Mother. If we were to understand how fundamental the role of the mother is, the world would totally change. During the first 9 months of life and the following first year of life, we are totally dependent on the mother. Then, as we grow apart from her, and things get more complicated. On top of all of this, the mind appears. Then thoughts appear, projects appear, desires appear as well. I want this, I want that. Without even realizing it, we get a very complicated life. In the midst of getting complicated, we totally forget where we come from. We are talking about going back where we come from, about returning to our origins, becoming children again. Something like that once, or perhaps more than one time, Jesus said, "It is necessary for men to become children to deserve heaven." Then, it is necessary for men to start shedding everything accumulated in a lifetime. I'm not necessarily speaking about material possessions. We are referring exactly to internal issues, bad thoughts, negative emotions, anger, laziness, pride. Let's take a moment to talk about pride. If we are loaded with a lot of pride, when we have tons of pride within us, what happens? What is happening to us? What is pride? Pride is when we feel like gods. Then, we feel that we do not need help from anyone. But someday, we might realize that we have lived a deceitful situation and that pride is a lie. That moment might come when circumstances of life, when we go through hardships, and we really need someone. It might be that we are dangerously sick in bed, and who shows up? Our mother. Whatever has happened, we would have been the most evil children. The physical mother is a manifestation of the Divine Mother, who is full of deep wisdom and love. We can understand this role better if we watch the movie The Passion. If we observe Mary's role, the mother of Jesus, we can clearly realize how, throughout the film, the Virgin Mary is constantly accompanying her son Jesus, and Jesus, despite having his activities, never forgets his mother. Until the end of the film, when Jesus dies on the cross, the one who receives him is the mother. The same mother accompanies him to the tomb. She, with the greatest love, is the one who engenders the great miracle of resurrection. We want to emphasize that we need to be in constant self-reminder that what we lack is to bring to us our own mother. I am not only talking about our physical mother, but what lies deeper. It is very true that we must remember our physical mother, because it helps us find inspiration to go higher. When we talk about love, it is something wonderful, because in love we find wisdom. Whoever finds wisdom does not need anything else. They have everything. When we say that beyond love and wisdom there is something deeper, well, we're talking about our special, particular mother. In the Gnostic philosophy, we call her the Divine Mother. We also call her the Divine. She is where everything is born. She is where we all come from. She is the genesis, the beginning, and the return. You have to walk back to the beginning, no matter what happens. No matter how many negative emotions have passed through us, we have to go. Walk towards the divine, towards the GIOCONDA, the Mona Lisa. We have to walk towards Mary, or whatever name you know her as. However you want to address her. However, when walking in the inner path, we encounter indecisions. Why does indecision appear in life? Sometimes we find ourselves between different paths. One path leads to the truth, and the others lead to lies. When one is in indecision, it is necessary to reflect deeply, to feel with the heart where purity is, and ask profound questions in the silence of our innermost. Which is the path that could save us? Every human being has lived that moment in which one has to face a decision. It might be that we are continually presented with different paths. In the painting, we can clearly see two paths behind the Mona Lisa. One spiral path and one direct path. If we put it this way, we are stating that the Mona Lisa is a temple, as if she were the guardian of a temple. This would mean that whoever is able to connect with the Mona Lisa, that person is able to enter into a temple. It would be the same case if someone feels that connection with Mary, because Mary is a temple too. So, what we can see in that marvelous masterpiece of Leonardo da Vinci is the most amazing background, a great landscape, and the heavenly figure of an enigmatic, sublime, divine figure. We can notice that the landscape occupies a large part of the painting. It appears to be an invitation, an offer to a great experience. In other words, whoever arrives at La Gioconda can go to levels never imagined and enjoy all that beauty. You just have to understand that it is possible to get there. The problem is, we are so immersed in the outside world. We are completely into everything that the world offers us. We have even come to doubt the Mother. We have come to doubt even the one who gave us life. We have come to deny all of that because we have become deeply distracted. We have been distracted by so many temptations, which the world continually offers us. We have dedicated ourselves to satisfying our wishes. We have wanted so much. Every human being has desired too much. We want this, that, and that. And what has the Mother done? She has punished us. We have been punished. We have been confined in our houses so that we understand that we have forgotten about her. We have been forced to see what is around us and the amount of impurity that is dragging us to misery. We have been forced to stop to observe and to understand what is the meaningful search we should be into. We have to go back to the Genesis, back to where we came from. Today, we have brought you a very interesting and vast topic, hoping to deliver to all of you an accurate, though short synthesis. When we select our topics, such as this one, we take it very seriously and even feel a little scared when delivering its content, because we want you to get as much meaningful information as possible. I mentioned previously fear of the presentation. Not now, not anymore, because when I concentrate on this painting, I begin to reflect on the virtue and inspiration comes to give to all of you, to all of our radio listeners, the quality of program you all deserve. When we talk about this painting, Rending the Veil of the Mona Lisa, our topic of the day, in my personal appreciation, it is as if she, the same Mona Lisa herself, or Da Vinci, are speaking through me. I feel I have been her vehicle of expression with what she wants us to see. She wants us to realize that exists within us. There is a moment of inspiration. It is when inspiration appears and we begin to feel something special. We start to perceive that our interior vibrates, and what we deliver is what is being shown, what is happening inside of us. That is why I want to say that this painting is truly sublime, and that talking about this painting makes me feel as if I were in front of an angel. The Virgin is wearing a veil on her head. The veil is a sign of chastity, a frequent attribute in portrait of wives. The left arm rests on an armchair. The right hand rests on that arm. The posture conveys the impression of serenity, and that portrayed character dominates her feelings. We are before a virgin, and that virgin invites us to enter into serenity. She invites us to learn to manage our feelings, to have balanced feelings. All extremes are harmful. We have to neither be very happy because it can hurt us, nor very sad because it can also hurt us. We might have a slight smile. When we meet someone who truly practices meditation, we will always see that person with a slight smile, which is born from serenity. During these times we find ourselves, it is fundamental, deeply fundamental, to learn to be serene, because in the midst of serenity, we can find great mysteries. Those who live in continuous serenity get rid of many difficult moments, but when serenity is lost, we enter into profound crisis. That it is why it's necessary for us every morning, afternoon, night to practice serenity. One of the keys to practicing serenity is the art of breathing. And to learn the art of breathing is to deeply observe our breathing process. If we are able to connect with serenity, when we really do connect with serenity, it becomes easy to see our divine, or virgin, or elemental magician, because it is said that the Virgin is magical. And yes, the Mother is magical, but the Mother also punishes. We don't like punishment. I don't think anyone likes punishment. But I have to tell you the good news too. The Mother also gives gifts. And what does a Divine Mother give? She gives gifts like cell phones, cars, electric power grid, like television, and if we behave better, she gives us better things. The more love is produced, the more love there is, the higher it goes. We realize how infinite the love of the Divine Mother is. Therefore, if you have the blessings, have the assurance that you can meet angels. Angels who have received gifts from the Divine Mother. We like to receive gifts from the Divine Mother. This is true. But we ought to know that she also punishes. Could it be that the Divine Mother is scolding us, so we can acknowledge how badly we have behaved? Could it be that the Divine Mother is inviting us to listen? It may happen that sometimes we do not listen. If we remember how many times our earthly mother told us not to put our fingers in the fire because we would burn our fingers, surely some of us did not listen to her warnings, and we ended up putting our fingers in the fire, obviously getting burned. As you may be aware, how many times have you not listened to our mother? The good news is that those who are tuning into the program are listening. We know it because we are reflecting on these issues. We are truly listening. It is necessary to listen to the Mother who dwells in the depths of our hearts. It is not far away. She lives within us. Take whatever prayer you have near you and recite it. Any prayer you find, we implore you, pray to your inner mother and practice again. Allow her to manifest herself in each of us, and let us not forget about her smile. Do not forget about the enigmatic smile of the Divine Mother, the Mother who is the GIOCONDA, the Mona Lisa. This afternoon, we have been talking about the painting, The Rending of the Veil, and it has been a pleasure to talk to you about this topic. Have a very good afternoon, a very blessed afternoon, an afternoon filled with purity. This is the end of our program. We will come back next week, where I invite you to join us for another mystery in the spaceship of mysteries.